What's happening, people? It's another episode of The Giants, guys. It's that podcast you love to hate. And this is a completely off the grid recording because we got something special for you guys. I'm going to get a couple guys in here. Of course, you know Spartan Mike. I'm going to add in Zane. And guys,
Giants Nation.
I know you guys can't control yourselves. I can't either. I'm pretty stoked right now. So got a special guest for you guys. Normally we record on Tuesdays. But I got a special guest for you guys, which is super cool. We talk a lot of football here every week, and we interview Giants legends, 2-3 times a month. But today, we are going to welcome to the show former Rams, Giants, and Cardinals QB, Super Bowl winning MVP, two-time, not once, two-time NFL MVP and Hall of Fame class of 2017. Guys, welcome in. Bang. Kurt Warner.
Hey, guys.
I'm so excited to actually talk to you, man. I'm just pumped. It's because, you're the quarterback guru. We have so much polarizing quarterback stuff going on in Giants land. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well. I'm excited for the season, as I know you guys are, to try to get some questions answered and see how this thing's going to play out. But I'm excited.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Yes, definitely. I asked Kurt if he was playing golf, and he says no because he's working all the time. So you can catch Kurt everywhere, pretty much.
I just jump in real quick, Kurt. Thank you so much. Humbled. Just can't say enough. I've been harassing Kurt for well over 3 months now. But I mean, for him to even take his time out for just regular people that do Giants, it speaks volumes to who Kurt is, and I'm just extremely humbled and grateful. And thank you for the time, man.
No problem. The power of Twitter. It's
no doubt.
Lots of relationships over the years, so
it's a different world now.
Yeah, and we interview players every single week. We get a lot of great stories, but we're honored to have a Hall of Famer with us, which is completely a different level. And so your insight's going to be great. We're gonna dive into Daniel Jones and the Giants. But I got to ask you about something. To me, which I've been dying to ask you, which is more about American Underdog. All right. If you don't mind. I mean, you wrote the book, which is All Things Possible, right? You turn your story into a movie. And we interview players each week, and I do this, I think Kurt calls speed round. And one of the questions is always, if they made a movie of your life, who would play you? So we know that, Zachary Levi is playing you in American Underdog. The question is, do you get any creative control on the story of your life? Or does the studio just tell you, this is the way it is?
No, we actually had a lot of control in the movie. Now, not with who they cast to play us. That was somebody else's business. But, and by the way, I think they did a great job. Zachary Levi was awesome. Anna Paquin was awesome.
Totally.
As my wife. So they did a great job with that. But I did have a lot of control in the story that we were going to tell. The movie was probably 10 years in the making. We had different production companies. We had different writers along the way. And my wife and I always just said that we're not just going to make a movie to make a movie. We're going to make the right movie, the movie that we want to tell and the story that we want to tell. And so they allowed us to collaborate a lot in the process. Allowed us to try different things. The good thing is we had a team that didn't just say, okay, Kurt and Brendan, whatever you want. So there were certain things that we said, hey, try this. And they're like, yeah, that's not going to work. So we had people that would just check and balance everything. They would try different things that they thought would work. They tried things and said, no, that doesn't work. And so it was a real collaborative effort. And I think that's a big reason why we're extremely proud of the film. The movie is based off of real life stories. Of course, there's a little Hollywood and a little drama here and there, but every scene that you see in the movie is based off of real life. And that was important too. We didn't want to make a movie where somebody goes, hey, that part in the movie, did that really happen? And we had to say, well, no, that didn't happen. And then you're like, well, okay, what else in the movie didn't happen? So the movie is very true to real life. I loved how they intertwined my story and my wife's story and my son's story as kind of 3 different American underdogs, and how together we were able to accomplish some things. So we're really, really pleased with the way the movie came out. The response to the movie has been incredible. I mean, better than I ever could have expected. I mean, the positive reviews, I've heard very few negative things from people about the movie, and that's usually just minor Hollywood stuff. So I couldn't be more excited about the way it's been received.
Yeah,
it was a fantastic movie, by the way. And Giants fans who are watching this, if you haven't seen it yet, see the movie because it really is an incredible story.
I got chills, choked up a couple times. You know what I mean? Because you're just like, oh, like most people give up at a certain point. But and your comment about the Hollywood part of it, I remember when they did the Michael Orr story, for Blindside, he kind of was disappointed when it came out because there were certain points that he said, yeah, it didn't really happen that way. So, it's nice to know that you had some collaboration efforts where even to the fact where you interjected and they were like, nah, not that, Kurt, not that part.
Yes.
Did you ever think I should play me? Did you ever think I could do it?
I mean, definitely not for the whole movie, but I was, I was, really trying to get in as an extra to play myself in the arena scenes or in the NFL scenes. But unfortunately, we shot it right in the middle of the pandemic. Okay. And due to, uniforms and all the different things that you had to do within, those parameters, I wasn't able to do that. There's a couple Easter eggs. I make a cameo. My wife and I make a cameo in the movie. There's another shot of one of my body parts that make the movie. And so there's a couple Easter eggs in the movie. But unfortunately, I didn't get to throw a pass because, I thought that would have been so cool is to look back and go, hey, that one right there, that was me actually playing me in my movie and making that throw. But unfortunately, that didn't come to pass.
So if the pandemic doesn't happen, they're going to put you in a uniform and shoot it so they don't see your face through the face mask? And probably. Yeah. Okay. So, so is that disappointing or it's like not a big deal?
No, it's very disappointing. Like, I mean, I thought that of all things, that would be the one thing that I would get to do. And it would just be a cool Easter egg to always have in my movie. Jumping in there. But yeah, so it was kind of a bummer. And again, we tried to, but just the timing of everything, it just unfortunately just didn't pan out.
Well, listen, there's always the sequel with the rise from Giants to Cardinals.
Yeah.
And so let's not say it's over yet. You never know. There's always a sequel, right?
That is true. That's there's a lot of people, and that was one of the reasons why the movie, I think, took so long. There was a lot of people that didn't know what the movie was. Like, does it end with the Super Bowl championship? Does it go to the second chapter? Because there's, I think, some great lessons and great moments, some ups and downs in the second chapter that could be just as powerful as the first. So that idea has been kicked around that there may be a second part to it. Nice. I'm not sure my wife is signing on to do a second movie, but pretty cool that people actually talk about it. And there is a whole nother arc that happens from the time I get released from St. Louis through the Giants and then on to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you already know this, but again, for anyone who's going to watch this, if you go on Rotten Tomatoes, the audience has a 98% score.
It does, yeah.
People love this movie. Like, it's not even an exaggeration. People actually love this movie because it was that good.
And Zachary Levi nails the role. There's a lot of, he might be, I don't know, you're roughly the same size. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's a really good pick, so they did a great job there. So that's awesome. And by the way, it's a feather in your cap to the point where what football player makes a movie about their life? It just doesn't happen, right? Yeah. So not only do you have the movie, but you have the book too.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, we're blessed. It's a crazy journey, and the irony that, through most of it, especially through most of it that was in the movie, I didn't want to be where I was at. I didn't want to be a part of that. And so amazing that the irony of not wanting to be there leads into this story that's kind of a one of a kind and that can be made into a movie. And we're just so grateful that it's been able to impact people and I think encourage people where they've at, especially the timing through the pandemic. I mean, how many people found themselves as an underdog, through those 3 years, more so than they probably ever have in their entire lives. And so the timing of the release and people seeing it, I think was pretty powerful as well.
Yeah, good feel, good story goes a long way, definitely during those times. All right, I'm going to ask you about something. These guys have a bunch of questions too, but I have one. I'm a numbers guy. I played college football, but I played small Division III football, but all the way from I was a kid all the way to playing through. Numbers were important to me. I don't know why. Numbers always meant something, whether it's markability or what. So in high school, you wear 12, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I did, yes.
So the question is, why 12 and how do you get to 13? Because I've always found there's a story, and these guys will attest. I've had this podcast for 3 years, and all these really cool guys that we've interviewed over the years, from Carl Banks and Dominic Hickson and Chase Blackburn and all your old teammates and all these guys.
David Deal.
David Deal, Soybert, they all have a story about their number, and the best one was Carl Banks, and he leaves Michigan State wearing 54. Look, he's got it on right there.
There you go, man.
And he shows up, and Andy Hedden, who is a kind of a backup linebacker, says to Carl, he says, and I'm quoting, "Hey, homeboy, you want this number? 30 grand. And he just got off the plane. He's been in the facility for an hour, and this guy's already trying to get a check out of him. He says to the equipment manager, "Hey, pull out something out of the bag." He pulls out 58. Story's over. He's 58, But listening to him tell the story is hysterical. So why 12 and how'd you get to 13?
I wish I had a great story for you. But here's all I've got. So I wore 12 because I was a big Cowboys fan. I was a big Roger Staubach fan.
Okay.
So that was where the 12 started. When I went to college, I wanted the number 12 again, and somebody had it. A veteran guy had the number 12. So they simply threw the number 13 at me, kind of, again, it's closest number to 12. So you get the number 13. Fast forward, okay, I was with the Packers for just a short period of time, as you guys saw in the movie, wore the number 12 with the Packers. Went over to the Rams and actually was looking for 12, couldn't get 12. I actually wore 13 in college. So when I went to the Rams, I was trying to get 13. Steve Bono was there at the time, my first year. So they gave me the number 10.
Yep.
Right. So I'm wearing the number 10 and I'm kind of thinking, okay, I'm in the NFL now. I'll probably just wear 10 my entire career. The next year, the Rams signed Trent Green. Right. And so when they were doing the introductory press conference for Trent Green, I saw him up on stage. I was watching on the news at home, and he's holding up the number 10. And I'm going, well, hold on, like that's my number. Like that, I didn't get a check. Nobody offered me anything. They just went and gave my number to Trent because he wanted the number 10. But ultimately, I was able to go back to the number that I wanted, which was the number 13, because of that situation. And 13 would be what I would wear the rest of my career. And, really the only story I have behind it is that obviously I wanted to be 12 to start, got 13 in college, wanted to stay with the number 13. But through the process, I became a man of faith. And I know a lot of people look at 13 as an unlucky number. There's not 13. There's not a 13th floor in hotels and all of that sort of stuff. So it kind of became a silent way for me to kind of represent who I was and saying that I didn't believe in luck. I didn't believe I just kind of, fell into this situation and had success. I believed in something bigger than myself. And so, that was kind of a long way to get to the number 13 and end up staying with the number 13.
So I got a story for you about your 13. My as I mentioned, my daughter, she accepted this scholarship to play field hockey. She's in Michigan. She's worn 13 her whole life. And when we were picking numbers out for field hockey, when she was little and we were going through numbers, same thing. All the older girls had the numbers. And when 13 was available, she's like, "Dad, isn't 13 unlucky?" I was like, "Heck no." I'm like, "Kurt Warner wears 13. She's like, "Dad, who's Kurt Warner?" So I had to pop on a video and show him. And I'm like, "That guy wears 13 and that guy gets it done." And since that moment, my daughter has worn 13. And when she got to Michigan State, she literally sent me a text. She's like, "Dad, we're getting sized for our uniforms." I'm like, "Awesome. What are you going to wear?" She goes, I got the 13. I'm like, you got 13 again? So she's been wearing 13 since she was probably 8 years old, you know? So kind of full circle, but
love it. Tell
you know,
her.
because like I mean, listen, I saw in the movie, you know, you're in the aisle with in the shelves and the kid asks you why you're here and you're looking at a box of Wheaties with Marino on it. Yeah. Like I was never, listen, Dan Marino's a phenomenal quarterback, right? But you and I are roughly the same age. Like I grew up watching you play where Dan's older than me. So my first thing is I relate more to your 13. So
well, I appreciate that. Yeah. Your daughter, good luck. I love it. Number 13, lucky 13. I like it.
Exactly. All right, guys. I know you guys got stuff. Go ahead, Zane. Jump in with something.
Well, I was born on the 13th, so it's never been unlucky. So
right.
So you watch the movie, and because it's real life, and we know it's real life, it's a roller coaster, right? You're going through the ebbs and flows of the emotion with your character. So you win this Super Bowl in not Super Bowl. You go to Green Bay first, right? It's Green Bay first. You're on the practice squad, I believe. Is that what it was?
I actually know. I was there for, I mean, in the movie, it only showed me there for kind of 2 days, basically. But I was there for, you know, through training camp. I was a camp arm there with Green Bay. Never played in a preseason game, and then it was released.
Right. So then you went to Arena, right? You went to the Arena Bowl. You end up in NFL Europe. Did you ever hit a point where you're sitting there and you say to yourself, you know what? I've had enough. I'm good in NFL Europe. I can win here. I can get accolades here. Or was it always, this is a stepping stone for me. It's NFL or nothing. That's where I need to get it done.
I mean, there was always the desire to play in the NFL. But there was a time when I was actually playing arena football. You know, I played a few years of arena football. I was one of the better players, if not the best player in the league at the time. And I was having success and I was taking care of my family and all of those things that you kind of shoot for. So there was a time where I was content saying, all right, if I never get that opportunity, I'll play 10 or 12 years in the Arena League and hopefully be one of the best to ever play. And I'll at least get to play the game that I loved, but never to the point where the NFL ever disappeared. Like when I was playing, I was still playing because I believed I could play. You know, I got cut by Green Bay, but, you know, it's funny. Somebody on Twitter the other day just sent a picture of, you know, said something about the quarterback room in 1994 with Green Bay because it was Brett Favre, Ty Detmer, Mark Brunell, and then myself that year. And the amazing thing is, you know, I got released from the Packers, but I left there with more confidence that I could play in the NFL than I had going in because I'm competing against these guys. You know, I'm competing against Brett Favre, who would be the first time, you know, 3-time winner of the MVP, and Mark Brunell would go on to play in Pro Bowls. And then obviously, you know, Ty, who was, you know, one of the greatest college quarterbacks you've ever seen. So I'm out there throwing against these guys every day going, okay, I can do this. You know, I can physically play this game with all of these guys. And so when I left there, I really believed that I could play. The hardest part of it was I going to get an opportunity? Yeah. And that was the thing that, you know, you have no control over whatsoever is that, you know, you go year after year after year, like, can I just get a true opportunity? You know, I didn't want to be that 50-year-old guy that's watching games on my couch going, you know what? I could have been that guy if they just gave me an opportunity. Even if they gave me an opportunity and I couldn't, you can walk away going, hey, at least I got my shot and I wasn't good enough. And so it is what it is. But it probably would have drove me crazy had I never got a true opportunity to compete and show whether I belonged or not. So fortunate while I was playing and learning the game and growing in the game that I got that second chance with the Rams.
You need someone to believe in you, right?
Always do. Always do. Yes.
You know, there's that one guy that just says, you know, this guy just deserves a shot. Yeah. Because if you don't have that one guy, you're pushing a rock uphill most of the time.
No, very few things are accomplished by ourselves in life. I realize that, and especially in a sport, and especially a team sport. So I'm grateful that guy just got into Canton a couple weeks ago in Dick Vermeil, but I'm glad that he saw something in me and was willing to give me an opportunity when nobody else would.
Yeah, he's a legend here, right, in this Philadelphia market. Yeah. Like he's the guy, you know, and him and Jaws just, you know, if they show up, people come out of the woodwork because they love him.
No doubt.
All right, Spartan Mike, you got to jump in here with something pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Kurt, I mean, you had a phenomenal career with both the Rams and the Cardinals. And you played with so many incredible offensive weapons in your time in both places. From Torrey Holt, Marshall Faulk, Larry Fitzgerald, the list just goes on.
Bolden, Fitz.
Yeah, and I sort of have a
Hakeem.
two-part question here. Was there ever a particular player that you felt most in sync with when you played? That's the first question. The second question is actually, if the 1999 Rams played against the 2008 Cardinals, who do you think would win that?
Ooh, good question.
Well, I mean, the best football player that I ever played with was Marshall Faulk.
Mm-hmm.
And I played with some great ones. So, I could throw Tiki right in the mix. I don't think he ever got the respect that he deserved. And I probably wouldn't have known how good he was if I hadn't got to play with him for a year. He was a phenomenal, phenomenal player as well. But I played with a lot of great ones, a lot of Hall of Famers. But Marshall was the best complete football player that I ever played with. I mean, Orlando Pace probably. I'm thinking more skill guys, but Marshall was incredible. He was just a unique player, one of the smartest players that I've ever played with. Could do anything that you asked him to do on a football field. So he was just, he was that guy that stood above the rest, as great as the other guys were. If the '99 Rams played against the Cardinals, the Rams would crush them. I don't even think it would be close. I mean, I'd like to think, since I was quarterback in both teams, and I might have been a better quarterback in '08 than I was in '99, that I could have kept it close and I could have done some things, to score some points. But that team in '99 was just special. And, what we could do offensively, I don't think anybody could go swing for swing with us. And that '08 Cardinals team, although we made a really special run, we were not a great football team. I mean, I think we finished the year and we scored 426 points and we gave up 425 points. That was the kind of team that we were, that we had to, manufacture ways to win. And we played in a bad conference. And so we won, a number of games to get to the playoffs. Now, we played good in the playoffs, and our defense showed up in a special way in the playoffs, and we had fits, and we were humming pretty good in the playoffs. But, just overall big picture, that Rams team, to me, was way better than our Cardinal team.
And Faulk was
I will say this one thing, though, about the legacy that I think that, you left with Arizona, and it speaks volume, is I agree. I mean, the 08 team did not look as good as the 99 Rams. But, when you got to Arizona, they didn't really have much of an identity. It was a good place to go for an away game, right? But you left that place, and now Arizona has a full-on identity, and you built that. And I think that's truly one of the most impressive things that I have ever seen, because I've never seen that done with a team before.
Yeah, no, that was it's probably one of the crown jewels on my career was, when you're a quarterback of a team, Greg, you were talking about stats and numbers before. To me, it's so much bigger than numbers. It's the ability to elevate the play and get people around you to believe in what they're capable of. And, I was fortunate that I kind of felt like I got to do that in 3 different places. The Rams were the losingest team in the '90s when I got there, and we were able to change that. The Giants, you guys remember, were 4-12 the year before, and we won 5 of our first 7 games. And guys are starting to believe again that we could do something. And then the Cardinals, as you said, were the losingest team of the last 5 decades when I got there, and so nobody believed we could ever have success. And then to leave those places where people saw them differently, the organization saw themselves differently, they believed in what they could accomplish. That to me is what leading is all about. That's what playing the quarterback position is all about. And so I'm really proud of what we accomplished and the way we were able to kind of change the complexion and the culture of what people saw the Arizona Cardinals as before I got there to what they saw the Arizona Cardinals as when I left.
And Marshall Faulk said that on numerous occasions on how you had the ability to make all the players around you better. And that's like the ultimate compliment, right? I mean, because you're playing a team game and you're saying, I'm going to make these guys that you don't think are great, watch how great I make them. That's the ultimate compliment from like you just mentioned, the best player you've ever played with. And to me, he redefined the running back position because he was just as good receiver as a back. He was just super fun to watch. He's one of my favorites But it was nice to hear him say that, because I think, and that's something we'll get to in a minute about the whole Jones thing. I'm going to transition real fast to the Giants. You come to New York on a 1-year deal. You mentor the rookie, Eli Manning. Like, I guess, like, what's the experience like coming to New York and playing for Coughlin? Because, and the reason why I ask, Kurt, is I can't tell you how many times I talk to guys and they tell me, they get off the plane and they don't even, they tell the cabbie to take them to New York, and the cabbie has to tell them that the Giants play in New Jersey. Like there's a lot of young kids that come to play for the Giants that don't really realize the whole New Jersey, New York dynamic. So, like, what's it like? What was it like that 1 year? What's it like playing for Coughlin? I'm hoping it was a good experience for you, but that's a tough place to play.
I love my time in New York. I love the organization. I love the people that were involved. I didn't love the way that they asked me to play. I had to play the game completely different than the way I normally play the game, and what I thought my greatest strengths were. We were run on first and second down, Kurt make a play on third down. And I mean, it wasn't conducive to how I normally played. So I didn't feel like I was able to have the impact on the field that I could have had. But by the same token, what I appreciated so much about it was I had to learn how to lead a different way. I had to learn how to get a locker room to believe that we could win when we didn't win a year before. And I wasn't going to be able to convince them by throwing the ball for 300 yards, because that's not what we were going to do. Yeah. But it was about getting guys to believe that buy into the system and we will do enough. I will do enough. We'll find a way to get wins. And that's basically what we did at the beginning of that year. I mean, we started out 5-2 and, we're playing some good football, and people are like, oh my God, where did this team come from? And we were just doing enough. And so I appreciate that part of it. Playing for Coach Coughlin, I have such tremendous respect for Coach Coughlin. Now, the first thing that I'll say is when I got there, that year in 2004, it was his first year. And, I obviously, worked hard and did a lot of stuff. And so there was oftentimes I was up watching film and putting in extra work when nobody else was there except, Coach Coughlin and the coaches. And I got to see Coach Coughlin as a grandpa. And I got to see him as, the person of Coach Coughlin, because I would go into his office and we would talk, and I would see him playing with his grandkids. And, what everybody heard on the outside, and even what most players saw, was Camp Coughlin, the hard camp and the rules and what we had to do. And, I saw all that, but I got to see another side of Coach. And, a big part of the process was, and eventually this would happen, was there was a disconnect between who Coach Coughlin was and the locker room, because they didn't see each other for what they were. Tom wasn't connected to the locker room the way he needed to be, and the locker room, wasn't going up and seeing Grandpa Coughlin. All they could see is these rules and these fines, and they were going crazy on the other side. But as you guys know, Coach Coughlin, benched me that year. But again, I'm going to give you a couple of stories on why I have so much respect for him. First is when he did bench me, that he brought me into that room. And unlike a lot of coaches who, when they have to make a decision like that, they point back at the player and go, well, here's why we're going to you didn't do this well enough, or you didn't do that well enough, or you did. He looked at me and he said, you know what, Kurt, you're the reason that we've won 5 games. And what you've brought to this organization has been unbelievable in this short period of time that you've been here. And this isn't fair. This isn't fair to you. It's not fair that we're going to move to Eli Manning. But it's the move that I feel like I have to make for the best of this organization moving forward. And so I didn't like it. As he said, I didn't think it was fair. I was the better quarterback at that time, hands down. And, none of that. But he looked me in the eye and he was honest with me and said, it has nothing to do with you. And there's nothing you can do about it. And there was nothing you could have done about it. It was just, this is the right time, I believe, for us as a team to move to the young guy. So great respect for him, because he looked me in the eye and said that, and didn't try to blame it on something I didn't do and try to make up a reason why I wasn't playing. Second reason, at the end of the year, knowing that I wasn't going to come back, Coach Coughlin called me into his office. We had kind of had an exit interview. And he asked me if I would go back home for 2-3 weeks, and if I would take out a pad of paper, and if I would write down everything I didn't like about what they did that year.
Wow.
Everything from what happened on the football field to what happened off the football field to anything that I wanted to say. Will you go back and write it all down on a piece of paper and bring it back in a couple of weeks, and we'll have a discussion.
That's amazing.
So I was like, okay, went back and did it. I mean, I had pages and pages of notes and different little things. And so we ended up having a conversation, and the conversation even at times got heated a little bit. And I'm just like, hey, coach, you asked me to do this. I'm just trying to tell you what you wanted to hear. Don't get mad at me. But, we would just, we would go back and forth, and so we had that conversation. It's a few-hour conversation. I leave the notes with them, and we go our different directions. And again, as I said, I had a lot of respect for Coach Coughlin. So, followed him, and we stayed in touch. And then, a number of years later, when they were in the Super Bowl in Indianapolis. So I guess was that their second Super Bowl?
Yeah,
yeah, because Arizona was the other one.
Was Indy. And so I was covering the league at that time for for the NFL Network. And so I was there for the week, and I went to visit Coach Coughlin at their makeshift office at one of the hotels in Indy. And so I went and saw him, and we had a great conversation. I was wishing him well. And Coach says, hey, Kurt, I just want you to know how meaningful that conversation was that we had, way back in 2004 after the season. And he reached down to the bottom of his desk. This is his makeshift office in Indianapolis.
No way.
Pulled out the notes, and he said, I just want you to know that I look at these notes every couple weeks.
No
as
way.
Just a reminder to me of the fact that I don't know everything. I don't have everything down, and I want to continue to learn and evolve as a coach. And, it was just one of those things like you're just blown away. Like, are you serious? But that to me is why I have so much respect for him, because so much success throughout his career, but he never stopped evolving, and he never stopped listening to people that could maybe help him be better. And, one of the things that I talked about in that meeting was you need to connect to your players differently. You need to have a pulse of the locker room. You need to have, a committee of guys that can be your liaison to the locker room, and you can bring them up and find out what's going on. And they have the ability to go up into your office and talk to you. And that became one of the things that I know they did after I left, was they had their, senior committee of guys that would, connect with Coach Coughlin on a weekly basis. And it helped to bridge the gap that was there that first year. I mean, I'll never forget, hearing Michael Strahan, knowing him because I was there that year with him, saying, that first year in 2004, I wanted to go anywhere else and play for anybody else but Coach Coughlin. And by the time he retired, he basically said, I didn't want to go anywhere else, and I didn't want to play for anybody else except Coach Coughlin. And I think that speaks volumes of the man and what he was willing to do from year one to evolve and adjust and grow to become, what I believe is a Hall of Fame, NFL coach. But it was because of his willingness to make that effort and ask guys like me to tell him everything he's doing wrong, and for him to continually ponder those things and figure out how he can be the best coach.
That's an amazing story that he pulls it. He's not even in his office. He's in the makeshift office at the Super Bowl.
He had to bring him with him out there.
Yeah, he's carrying around Kurt's notes from however many years that was.
7 years old at that point. That's incredible.
That shows how much respect he has for your input as well. How much value he actually had for that, which obviously helps with his growth. But you heard it here first. I always wondered how he came up with these committees that he eventually took place. When he did that, I was like, I wonder, where that take from. But looks like Kurt Warner's impression with the organization just lasted, because it seems like it definitely came from as a suggestion from you.
I'll tell you this real quick story. I don't want to bore you with it. I don't know if Eli Manning was a film guy in college or not. But what I can tell you is we interviewed last year. There's a practice squad wide receiver the Giants have named Alex Bachmann. Young guy, busting his ass, trying to stay on the team. nice player, but he's always got an uphill battle, right? We had him on, and he tells her this story that he got cut from the Rams. He was a Wake Forest kid, got cut from the Rams. And this, by the way, will come back to I hope makes you, not only feel good, but just your impact on the Giants. He tells me that his friend called him and said, I heard you got to try out for the Giants. He's like, do you have a place to stay? He's like, no, I'm driving up now. He says, listen, I got a place in Manhattan. You can stay at my place. He says, great. He says, aren't you staying there? He says, no, I am now the new Bachelor for the TV show The Bachelor. He goes, so I'm going to be off location shooting The Bachelor. So the place is yours. He says, great. So the kid's living in, he's still on the team, by the way. He's living in Manhattan, and he's got no car, right? Because he drove up with his parents, right? And he's taking like a bus and a train and a subway, and he's trying to be the first guy in the building, right? So he can make an impression. So every day he's there at 5:30. And every day at 5:30, the only person there in the building was Eli Manning watching film. He'd have breakfast with Eli, and he'd watch film. And then he said he would stay late so the traffic would die down and he could get on the train to whatever bus he was taking. And he said he had dinner with Eli Manning every night watching film. So if anything, to kind of come full circle to your original point, was you stayed after. You not only you were putting the work in, but you got to know Coach Coughlin because of the extra time you were putting in. Yeah. So this kind of comes full circle. The kid's literally saying the only person in the building is Eli Manning. I'd have to think that you rubbed off on him in that way. And that relationship between Coughlin and Eli is probably the same relationship you two had.
Well, I mean, I'm going to take absolutely no credit for anything with Eli. I mean, Eli's got an unbelievable pedigree. He had plenty of guys to lean on, to ask questions with, his brother, his dad. And, when I got there, I'm always an open book. I'm always there to help anybody. But I was also one of those guys that was very conscious of that with Eli. So, my biggest thing was, whenever he comes to me, I'm going to help him any way that I possibly can. But I'm not going to go and try to, hey, Eli, you need to come and watch film with me. You need to, because I knew that he had, people to help him with that. So I was very respectful of I think his situation, yet also very open. So, to this day, I don't know what, if anything, I did to help Eli in that stage. I mean, I'm sure there's things of, it's one thing to hear your brother say it. It's another thing to watch somebody do it, and to see somebody in the building doing it on a daily basis. But, again, to this day, I was there to help any way that I could along the way when he was starting, when he was going through some of the struggles and when he was learning. But I will never be a guy that takes any credit whatsoever for Eli's success, because he had plenty of guys that shaped him way more than I did.
Fair enough. It just struck me. I was like, because you got along with Coughlin because you spent some time with him. Yeah. And how tight Eli was with Tom, because, he probably got to understand Coach Coughlin like you did.
Yeah. No, very, very true. Very true.
So go ahead, Zane, jump in.
Shout out to Kurt Warner because he's wearing Giants gear, and I want to point that out. People can't see it. He is wearing Giants gear. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated.
We're representing.
So
love it.
I have a main question, but as the noodle is kind of spinning, who's your favorite? Who's your favorite Giants teammate? Did you have a favorite Giants teammate when you? I know it was only a year, but who was your guy?
Man, I had some good relationships with a lot of the guys. I enjoyed my time with Jesse Palmer, as you were mentioning, the Bachelor. Getting to know Stray, was a lot of fun. OC, unbelievable dude. Sean O'Hara was there at the time. Tiki was great. There was a lot of great guys on that football team. I enjoyed that year. I enjoyed my teammates. I don't know who was closest. Now that I work with Sean O'Hara, we probably have the best relationship of all those guys. Just
it's
because
always the quarterback in the center, right?
What's that?
It's always the quarterback in the center. They're always buddies.
Yeah, exactly. But there was just a lot of really, really good dudes on that team, and I enjoyed it. We weren't a great football team by any means. Amani and I were fairly close when I was there. It was just a good group of guys. Jeremy Shockey was was a good dude. I think sometimes misconstrued because of the attitude that he brought, and sometimes he could get a little fired up. But Chalk was a great dude. I mean, it was a really good team, and I enjoyed being a part of it.
That's great to hear. All right, so you're one of 4 quarterbacks in NFL history to take 2 different NFL teams to the Super Bowl, right? Morton, Manning, Brady. Does that, for you, do you take pride in that as part of your journey? Does that make it just that much sweeter to, for those who are like, you know what, maybe he's done, let's move on to the next guy?
I mean, yeah, you take great pride. I mean, just the fact of going to the Super Bowl. I mean, just going to the Super Bowl, period. You take great pride in that. To take 2 organizations to the Super Bowl, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, 2 organizations that hadn't had a lot of success, in at least a decade from the time that I got there to the previous decade. And so to be able to take those teams to the Super Bowl was extremely special. I think there's a reason why there isn't very many quarterbacks that have played with numerous organizations and taken numerous organizations to the Super Bowl. It is not an easy task to, go and find yourself in a new offense and build, that kind of relationship. And most of the great quarterbacks have played in the same system, for a decade, for 12 years, 15 years. And so you get so ingrained with what that is that it leads itself to a certain level of success every year. So to have to flip and go somewhere else and have that same kind of success, that is a huge, huge task. And so, yeah, I took great pride in being able to do that. I mean, probably more so, not personally, but more so just being able to be a part of organizations and changing the culture of the organization. But yeah, I take great pride in that as a player, because I know how difficult it is to go different places and to win at that particular level. And again, I talked about my time with the Giants. I mean, going from an offense that fit me like a glove to the Giants, and then going to Arizona and having to reshape an offense and try to get back to doing what I did well later in your career. I mean, it's just, there's certain things that you take more pride in than other things as a player. And that's one of them, to be a part of changing 2 organizations, with the Rams being the first, team to win a Super Bowl with the Rams, and then to be the first team to ever go to a Super Bowl with the Cardinals. I mean, that's pretty special.
And it says a lot to you. I'm going to pivot to Craig in a quick second, because I know he's got a good one for you. Last one, because they brought this up about the 99 Rams. 99 Rams or the Rams team that just won?
Oof. Different style of team.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, I mean, a bit. I mean, the defense of this Rams team was really, I mean, our defense was good, but, this Rams team had some really, obviously, Aaron Donalds and Jalen Ramsey and some difference makers. But again, I mean, I'll take our offense against any defense that you're ever going to throw out on a field, and I'm going to say, we're going to score 30 points on you. And, and 30 points to me is good enough to win any football game. And so I like the Rams team. I think they were really good and really talented, and, they're talent across the board. But again, I'm going to take my guys and I'll go to battle any day.
I'm not saying this because he's sitting here, but if you take Cooper Kupp off that team and that 1,400 yards or 1,300 yards receiving, like, they're kind of they start to come down a little bit. He had 3.
You could take Marshall off our team, and that drops us down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, but again, we had lots of guys. But
you had 3 stud receivers on that team,
no doubt. But I mean, that's what great teams do. They have great players, and so you can't take the great players off the great teams.
Good point.
And so, but I just, again, I would take that team 99, probably even. Well, I mean, again, 99 was probably the most complete team that we had, but I would take the offense that we had in any one of those 3 years, and maybe in 2001 even more so, and I would put it up against any team in the league that's ever played, and I feel like we would win the majority of games.
That's why they call it the greatest show on turf, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, let's dig into the real good stuff, because this is where we need some help. All right, 1/3 of the Giants fan base loves Daniel Jones. 1/3 of it hates Daniel Jones. 1/3 of the fan base is just completely frustrated and confused. And because he's, a first-round pick like Barkley, he's very polarizing, right? He's a very polarizing player. I guess the easiest way to ask you is, I know he's had a bad offensive line since he's been here. I know he's had multiple schemes. I know he's had multiple coaches, but and I don't know if you could answer this or not, but I would love your insight. Like, Kurt, is Jones the guy? Because we're just looking for the guy, and it's really hard to say he is or is not.
Well, first of all, let's go to this idea that we don't know anybody's the guy until they're the guy.
Yep.
Like, there's been plenty of guys like Ben Roethlisberger wasn't the guy for a long time and then became the guy. Tom Brady wasn't the guy for a long time and then became the guy. We've seen that numerous times in this league, is that, those guys had success early, but they had success because of everything else.
Sure.
Like when Brady beat us in the Super Bowl, he threw for 150 yards. Like, he wasn't Tom Brady, but he won a Super Bowl, and then he ultimately became the Tom Brady that we know. And so, I don't think we can write the book on any player after 3 years and say this is who they're going to be, because they got time to grow. With all that being said, I haven't seen anything that tells me Daniel Jones is that guy. And again, I'm not saying not a starting quarterback in the league. I'm saying that guy, like the franchise guy, the difference-making guy, the elite guy. And again, it's not a knock on Daniel Jones. I just don't know yet. I haven't seen the things that say that's in there and he can become that guy. For me, there's lots of different factors that go into quarterback success. And when I watch film, I try to take all those things into consideration. But at the end of the day, to me, it's about playing the game. And what I mean by that is, when you have a play, like I can watch a Giants play right now and I can pull that play and go, okay, here's what I would do on this play. Like, I have a vision for what that play can accomplish and what I should do against every coverage that I'm going to see. I have an answer in my mind. So I watch film with the idea that, okay, is this guy doing what he should be doing in this scenario, a consistent number of times? Like, if they miss at the left tackle, I don't care. I don't count that. I count the ones where, okay, you have a chance to make the play. The play's in front of you. I know exactly where my eyes would be and where I would be throwing that football. Are you doing that on a consistent basis? Then when you're doing that, can you make the throw that you have to make on a consistent basis? So to me, it's layups. And I tell people all the time that, to me, there's some sort of equation for quarterbacks. So let's say the scale goes from 0 to 100. There's a scale in there somewhere that says, okay, 85 is a championship quarterback. 70 is a starting quarterback. And then within that range, you have to tell me how that quarterback gets to those numbers, right? We have some guys that'll, get halfway there just on, making special plays. And then they'll make the layups the other half of the time and they get to that 70% mark and they're good. There's other guys like Andy Dalton that will get you 69 of the layups, right? He's going to get you 69 and then he'll give you maybe one special throw here and there. But he still makes it to the 70 threshold, which means he's a starting quarterback in the National Football League.
Sure.
The question becomes how is Daniel going to get to that number? Because I haven't seen the layups, where he's making the layups consistently, seeing what he needs to see, throwing what he needs to throw, completing the throws that he needs to make on a consistent basis. And I also haven't seen the special plays come at a consistent level. And again, all quarterbacks in this league can make some special plays, a special throw here or a special run there. Everybody does. All the starters make those. But it's the guys that make those consistently where you can start adding them to their number. And that's the question for me with Daniel Jones is, can he get to 70? Can he be a starting quarterback in this league, meaning giving his team a chance by making enough plays every single game consistently, to be that guy? And we haven't seen that yet from him. I haven't. And again, you can pick a game here or again, these guys are good. None of these guys are bad, but you have to be able to do it week in and week out and consistently. And Daniel Jones has not shown that yet. I haven't seen that processing. I haven't seen that understanding. I haven't seen that consistency of throwing, from him to say he can be that guy. I'm not convinced yet. And we can, you can say whatever you want, offensive line, system, all that stuff. All I know is when you get behind the lines as a starting quarterback in the NFL, you better know what you're supposed to do on that play no matter what you see. And if you don't, and again, I'll take you into consideration when I watch film, maybe it's a crappy play. Like there's some coaches out there that throw out some crappy plays. And so I take that into consideration and I just go, well, that's not on Daniel because I don't even know what I would do there. So everything that I assess, I try to put the quarterback in a situation where I believe he can succeed. And then I ask those questions. And I just haven't seen enough from Daniel Jones to be convinced he's got enough of any of those things to get him to that mark that we need him to be at to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. Right now, he's just trying to wade through it. And all we're seeing is flashes here and flashes there, but not enough to say, if we were truly in a competition with, give me 32 other guys, whatever, I don't know if he would be one of the top 32. You're like, I'm going to give you probably at least 32 other guys that are in this league right now that are better than Daniel Jones on a weekly basis. If we were just breaking it down from that standpoint.
You feel that way? You feel there's 32 other guys, or that's a hypothetical?
No, I mean, again, I look at guys like an Andy Dalton, and I just say, I take Andy Dalton over Daniel Jones any day of the week. And again, I'm not knocking Daniel Jones.
No, I understand.
Of course, he's growing, but Andy Dalton is a starting quarterback in the National Football League. He's a playoff quarterback in the National
Played well
Football
against us last year. We know that.
I mean, he's a good quarterback, but he doesn't have the special. So he'll give you the 70. He's never going to get you to 85.
No,
and so
I got it.
To realize that. And so it's like, we'll take him as our backup and he'll be great. And if he needs to play, we're going to win with Andy Dalton and we're going to do enough with Andy Dalton, but he won't win us a championship. And, so again, those are the levels that we go to. We get to a level and my guy's a starting quarterback. Baker Mayfield may be another one of those guys, right? Starting quarterback, better than, he's one of the top 32 in the world probably, but he's probably not a championship quarterback, or at least hasn't shown us that yet, that he can do enough to get over the hump. And so that's how I'm breaking it down. So if I looked at the league and looked at all the starters and backups in the league, I don't think Daniel Jones would make the top 32. But again, I would have to,
do you start over though? Like, do you come to that conclusion and start over, or do you build around a guy like that?
Well, I think you have to come to the conclusion of what he's going to be his entirety of his career. So I'm not ready to say that what we've seen from Daniel is the best that we're going to get. Like, I'm not saying what I've seen is all Daniel Jones will ever be. I don't know. But once we know what level he is at, then we have to make that decision. So again, I'll use Andy Dalton. What Cincinnati did was they got Andy Dalton, who was a really good starting quarterback in this league. And they built and changed the culture in Cincinnati with Andy Dalton. We go to the playoffs every year. We don't win in the playoffs, but we go to the playoffs every year. People see us differently. We're a tough out, when we play a team during the regular season. So they went with 9 years with Andy Dalton, and they had a lot of success. They won a lot of football games that they hadn't won before. Then eventually they said, all right, we know who Andy Dalton is. We can keep Andy Dalton, and we can go to the playoffs and lose in the playoffs every year unless we have, this great team around him. Or we can release Andy Dalton and we can go get a guy that we think can take us to a Super Bowl, and we go get Joe Burrow. They go get Joe Burrow, and he picked up where Andy Dalton left off, and now they played in a Super Bowl. And so that's kind of the question. I mean, I would say the Browns did the same thing. And again, I don't think anybody, Deshaun Watson, there's still a lot of question marks to me. I'm just talking on the field right now, about what he will be and what he can be as a quarterback. But I think the Browns said the same thing. Like, Baker was great. He helped to change some things here. Now we believe that we can win and we want a playoff game, but we don't believe Baker is a championship quarterback. We're going to cut ties and we're going to go get somebody
even better
that we believe is better and that can possibly take us to a championship. And so those are the kind of steps you have to take. First, figure out who Daniel Jones is. Is what we've seen up to this point who he's going to be his entire career? If you decide that, then you ask the next question. is that good enough for where we're at right now to take a guy that's probably not championship level and run with him for 5 or 7 years before going the other route? Or, I think even some organizations might say, hey, we'll just run with Daniel Jones for the length of his career if he's a starting quarterback, a guy that can get us to the playoffs, and that's good enough. And then there's other organizations that are like, no, I'm not just here to get to the playoffs. I'm here to win championships. The Rams, there's another great example. Jared Goff got them to a Super Bowl, right? Jared Goff played some really, really good football. I think they ultimately said Jared Goff is a starting quarterback in this league and a good starting quarterback. He's not a guy that's going to win us championships. So we're going to let him go, and we're going to go get Matthew Stafford, who is a difference maker at that position. So you see that over and over again. You build a culture with one guy as you figure out what he's going to be. Then you have to make that tough decision on what you really want as an organization.
That's a good point. That's a really great point.
Kurt, let me ask this, though. I mean, you had the pleasure of playing under Mike Martz, as one of the greatest offensive coordinators of all time, right? You lightly touched on this with Jones. Unfortunately, I do think Garrett was an atrocious play caller and may have held Jones back a little bit. And now we have Mike Kafka as the offensive coordinator. How much of Daniel Jones's success, or of him getting to that 70% level that you talked about, could come from an offensive coordinator change?
Play calls, obviously can always have, a say in how a quarterback does or how good a quarterback, looks on paper. But I still think, that there's, in every offensive system, there's 65, 70% that the plays are basically the same. You're doing similar things. You have to read it the same way, that, the scheme is the same. And so I don't think that's just a cure-all that, and again, there's some coordinators that can put together great game plans and for a period of time, call the perfect play and get the first guy open so the quarterback just has to drop back and throw it to that guy. And yeah, that stuff can happen. But ultimately, I just don't think, just play calls, period, is the difference between a good quarterback and a great quarterback, or an average quarterback and a starting quarterback. I think you have to, you play the plays and you have to do the things that you have to do within the plays that were there. I've seen a lot of systems where, I don't really like that play. I don't know what they're doing. But there's just as many plays where you go, well, that's a good play. Everybody runs it. Throw it to the open guy. Like, what are you doing? So I just, I'm not one that, and I've been with some bad coordinators, so that can definitely handcuff you without a doubt. But I don't think that's, all one way or the other. We can't blame everything on a coordinator, good or bad. Like Brian Daboll was great in Buffalo, but it wasn't just his play calling that made Josh Allen great. Josh Allen grew, and Josh Allen is a big playmaker and consistently made the big throws. And it fit with what they were doing. And Brian did an unbelievable job of creating easy opportunities for him. But ultimately, the difference wasn't just the play design. The difference was the quarterback, right? The quarterback making the plays. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at with Daniel Jones. Play calling can help. Design can help. Creating easy opportunities for your quarterback can help and can look good on paper. But ultimately, you're going to be able to tell this guy's got to do some things on his own. He's got to play the position on his own. And that's not just going to be just a shift in coordinators that's going to do that.
All right. Those are all incremental shifts. We're still looking for his route consistency or his route play, regardless of some of those different aspects, if you will. So for you, as it seems like you've done your work on Daniel Jones. So as much as you've seen, as much as you know at this point, what's a good year for Daniel Jones, the individual? Is it statistical? Is it a win? Or is it certain things he improves on? For example, they only win 5 games, but all 5 were game-winning comebacks. He led drives to do it. What are you looking for to make someone say, you know what, this is a good year for him?
All I look for from a quarterback is consistency. Like, whatever that means for that quarterback, just show me what you're going to be every game. Like, show me what I can expect from you every time out. Show me who you're going to be. That's all I want to know. That to me is a good year because we know that this game, there's a lot of things that factor into these games. I mean, there's a lot of games that are close games that come down to a couple plays here and there. So I don't always look at win-loss. I do look at what quarterbacks do in close games, right? Because I know a lot of people don't think wins and losses is a quarterback stat. I believe it's as much a quarterback stat as anything else because I do believe that position in a lot of different ways factors into winning those kind of games.
Sure.
Guys believing on the sideline, making the play that you have to make, not making the play. Like when you've got a play to finish a game, you make that play, even if it's a 2-yard flat throw. Like
not turning the ball over.
You do different things to put your team in position to win more often than not at the quarterback position. So, I don't look at numbers because numbers are inflated, amazingly in this NFL. Touchdown passes or yards. I said a couple weeks ago, I think the most deceiving stat in football is the completion percentage. When I played, I think I led the league one year at like 67%, 68%. And I remember a couple years ago, somebody was showing me a stat after like 9 weeks of the season. And 21 quarterbacks in the NFL had a higher completion percentage than that. And I'm just, and I sit here and I'll go, I argue that I'm the most accurate quarterback in NFL history. Yet 21 guys had a higher completion percentage than I did. Why? Because we manufacture and we have smoke and mirrors in these games. So stats can be great.
But they're deceiving.
Yeah. So that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I'm going to watch every game and I'm going to assess, did Daniel grow in terms of where his eyes were, getting the ball out on time, making the throws he's supposed to make, bringing his technique with him. I've been watching some clips of him in practice. And first thing that I say is it's horrible technique. Like, I don't care who you are, and Daniel Jones isn't the most talented guy, but his technique's still bad. And so when his technique's bad in certain areas, you're not going to be successful consistently. And so it's all those little factors that can add up to you could have less touchdowns and less yards than you did a year ago, but be a lot better quarterback. And
how does no one see that his technique is bad? That's what I don't understand.
Well, there's a lot of guys in this league who have bad technique. And I think there's a lot of guys that struggle with how to coach it. And it's also habitual. When I work with guys, I always tell them, we got to create a new normal. Like your normal isn't good enough. Like your normal isn't good technique. We got to create a new normal, but it's hard to create a new normal when you've been doing something for 25 years of your life. And now it's, hey, we're going to change this. And we got 3 months in the off season and I expect you to be different. No, but it's something that you have to work on because I'm a firm believer that technique can always carry you. So if you're not great, if you have good technique, technique can carry you as a thrower. If you have bad technique, if you're a great quarterback like Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, who oftentimes have bad technique, but they're really good at knowing how to use the rest of their body to make up for it. But if you're not a great quarterback and you have bad technique, that is a bad formula to be successful on a consistent basis. And so again, those are the things that I'm going to watch this year from Daniel Jones to be able to tell, did he make steps in his level of consistency from last year to this year?
Yeah, that's interesting too. I was thinking,
can we get a bad technique example? If you want,
that's what I was thinking. Like, I want to know, like, what it actually looks like.
What did you see that goes? Well, that's still the problem.
In simplest form, it's feet lined up with where the ball is going. So, when you watch a guy throw, I want that front foot when it's time to throw to be stepping and moving to my target.
Okay.
So here's how I when I teach it. I always teach guys and I have them line up on a line, right? Just pick a line, a yard line on the football field. Every time you throw a football, there is a straight line from where you release it.
I got it.
Where the ball is going. As much of my body as I can possibly get down that line, the better chance I have to be successful. If I take my left foot and I move it 12 inches to the left of that line, now part of my body and power goes with that foot. Actually, most of my power is going to go with my body. So imagine my power starts on my back foot and it comes to my front foot, and that's how we throw. We generate power from hip to hip.
Sure.
So if my foot comes off of that line 12 inches and my power is going from my right foot to my left foot, but the throw needs to be down the line, my technique is all off because my power is going in a completely different direction than my arm. Now, doesn't mean you can't make some throws that way. It just means that consistency-wise, you're working against yourself and your technique is all over the place. So when you consistently do stuff like that, you're going to consistently miss and you're going to be consistently inconsistent when you do that. And again, you can watch some of the greats. Aaron Rodgers sometimes has awful feet, but he's incredible with his hips and being able to generate power through his core. Patrick Mahomes, same way. Josh Allen, another guy. You'll see him miss some layups, some throws he should never miss. But his feet are going one direction and his arms going another direction. So it's all about lining your body up to the point where it's hard to miss, right? Yeah. So anything that I get off the line, if I start to drop my arm and throw it kind of sidearm, now it's off of that line, right? And I got to bring it back to get the ball to go down that line. All of those things are what we talk about with technique, is generating as much power and movement down that one singular line that you're going to throw down as much as possible. So there'll be times when we're moving and we talk about off platform all the time, right? So my feet are perpendicular to that line. I have to learn as a quarterback that there's times I have to take my feet out of the throw. So no longer am I generating my power with any part of my feet. Now I have to generate it with my core, because my core is the only thing that I can get to go down that line. So it's all those little things that I know to you guys go like, wow. But
this is what we want. This is exactly what
we want to hear this.
You'd be surprised.
In simplest form, I'm trying to get everything going down that straight line. If I get everything, my arm, my power, my legs, my body, all going down that singular line, you can't miss. Like, you can't miss. So the goal is on every throw to get as much of my 100% down the line. Anything that comes off of that 100% starts to increase my margin for error to miss a throw. And that can be a multitude of different things. I can be leaning back on my back foot and not transferring my weight forward. I can be stepping my left foot, way off of that line. I can drop my arm and I can throw sidearm. I mean, there is a bunch of different things that can happen to take me off of that line. But that is what good technique is I'm getting everything generated down that imaginary straight line from throw to target.
All right, wait, this is a good segue then, because and I know you want to hang out with us all day. The last question I have before the speed round is, so believe it or not, I'm actually sucking this in because my son plays. I have a 14-year-old. He plays lacrosse all year round. He says to me he wants to play football. I'm kind of a broken ex-athlete, and I've always kept him out of football. Now all his boys are playing. So we've been in practice for 2 weeks. He is trying out to play quarterback because he's got the arm, but it's so much more, right? Yep. Reading defenses, footwork, belly to belly, learning the handoffs, right? Learning the plays on the fly. Tell me a little bit about QB Confidential, because it seems, you own this company. I looked into it. I'm all excited about it because I now have a 14-year-old son who wants to play quarterback and has the skill but doesn't have the knowledge, right? So, so when you were saying we were just want, I'm sucking it in because I'm assuming that QB Confidential has a lot of this in it.
QB Confidential has it. There's nothing out there like it, and I know I created it and I own it, but there is nothing out there like it. And I'm a firm believer that every offensive coach and every player that plays quarterback, I don't care if you're Daniel Jones or your son that just started playing 2 weeks ago, they should be on QB Confidential learning the game. It has everything from learning the game of football, simplest forms. What's a box count? What does quarters coverage look like? What is a defensive line twist? To technique stuff, going out on the field, to learning a playbook and understanding how playbooks work and how we read particular plays and design of plays is critical. Film study, being able to take it to the film and see how the pros do it and looking at the nuances. And then I have a segment that's on leadership and getting outside the field and learning how to be a leader. And so there's nothing that is as inclusive as QB Confidential in every facet of learning the game of football. And I think everybody could benefit from it. There's too many. Here's the bottom line is that there's two things. I coached high school football and loved coaching high school football, but I hated the fact that I only got 4 quarterbacks a year. Like, I wanted to share my knowledge with anybody and everybody that's out there. That I think there's a lot of quarterback, gurus or coaches that don't know what they're teaching. So this gives me the means to reach everybody. It's these quarterback gurus are charging $70 an hour, where you can get 30 lessons on QB Confidential for $7.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's 5 days
signing up right now
a week for $7.99. But it teaches you everything, and so I just think that there's benefits on there for anybody and everybody. And as I was going to say, the other part is that I've reached out to a number of NFL quarterbacks and college quarterbacks, and I think ego prevents them from really diving in and learning the game from someone, or willing to take their time and come to somebody that's played the game, that teaches the game, that understands the game. And I can't ever get anybody to call and work with me.
But has all the success. It's not even like you just played and you're starting from. You have accolades, success. Like, it's tangible, right? No one can say, well, Kurt Warner, if. There's no if. You did it.
So this is my means of being able to try to connect with those. Like, they can go and sign on to my website, and they can look at all of this stuff and learn the game without ever having to call me or without ever having to tell anybody they don't know. On my YouTube page, I'll break down quarterbacks all the time. And one of the reasons I do it is because I want to teach people through those guys, and they're guys that are at the highest level, but there's always a part of me that hopes those videos get back to the players. Because I'm not doing it to be critical. I'm not doing it to say, hey, you're not any good. I'm doing it to go, hey, here's where you could be better. Learn, grow, call me, ask a question. And it's,
you're giving back where maybe you didn't get a chance. Like, you're doing something for these, you didn't have that. So you're giving back.
I had a guy like Trent Green that was kind of my guy, but I wasn't afraid to ask questions. I wore him out asking questions because he had been in the offense and learning things. And I've seen it work both ways. I've had quarterbacks that have seen my stuff that have reached out to me and asked me to help them. And again, I can't verify this, but I've also had organizations that wouldn't let their quarterback do an interview with me, I believe, because I did a video that critiqued what they were doing on the football field, and basically just going, hey, this is what, you're doing wrong. This, how you correct it. This is, how you're going to be more consistent. And again, my whole goal is that it gets back to the player, not the player says, Kurt, you're a jerk, you're critiquing me. So the player goes, you know what? I want to be great. And he makes valid points. I'm always very conscious that I'm not sitting in a room, that when a play is designed and thrown up on the board for Daniel Jones, I don't know what he's being told. I don't know what the read is that he's supposed to have on the play. I know what I would do. And so I'm always conscious when I break these things down. Like, I don't know everything they're being taught, but here's what I would do. And so if it gets back to Daniel Jones and he goes, well, the coach told me to do this, that's fine. But also listen to what I'm saying. Does what I'm saying make sense?
Yeah, it works.
You can apply and you can learn from and you can help. If it doesn't, throw it away. I don't care. But if it helps you, take it, grow from it, and get better because of it. And so all of these things are the means of why I do what I do. I'm not here to be the old guy that says, oh, I was better than you and, and I know more than you. I don't care. I want all these guys to be great. And if I can help them be great, call me, reach out, or use QB Confidential or whatever.
If I'm not mistaken, there's also scholarship opportunities via the QB Confidential. Am I wrong about that?
People can get scholarship for it. So, some of these kids that if they can't afford, to go to a QB, guru, or they can't afford whatever, even, whatever the small charge is to be a part of it. Heck yeah, I'm here to just help. I'm here to just help guys if they want to be great and they can't afford it. So, people that can, I put some of that back into giving scholarships to people that can't. One of the great ways is that I get people reaching out from other countries that are just starting to learn the game and not a lot of money in the game, or they don't come from a well-off background. And they're like, but I just want to learn the game and I want to start playing, and we're just starting to play in this country. And I'm like, heck yeah. So yeah, there's all kinds of opportunities. I mean, money should not be an issue. But with that being said, I mean, $7.99 a month. I mean, give up a happy.
I kind of want to take a crack at that. I kind of want to, improve my
give up a Happy Meal, or
it's
but for $7.99, like I said, Craig, the first year is set up where you get 5 lessons a week, every week. So I mean, so for $7.99, you get whatever that turns out to be, at least 20 lessons on all these different things for $7.99. Like,
it's 40 cents a lesson.
Well, I look at it like, and I'm looking at it like Kurt just said, like, even if you don't want 80% of it, the 20 that you take is 20% more than you knew. I'm signing up when we hang up and we're off air, because I know that my son will go up in his room and he'll pop on the channel and he'll say, Dad, I don't understand this, and then I'll watch it and we'll learn together. Or he'll bring it to practice with them.
Another beautiful thing is that they get access to ask me questions too. So that's one of the most fun parts, is they contact my email on there, and I get questions all the time. Somebody asked me the other day, what kind of gloves did I wear when I was playing? So you have access to be able to ask questions on different things as well. So again, it's such a no-brainer if and I'm going to say this, if you want to be great. There is so much information on there that it's not even fair.
It's good for all ages.
Every age, yeah. So because it's like a curriculum. So what I do is, like, even if your son never picked up a football before, I'm going to start them on a line, the first day, and talk to them about technique. And so it's building and growing. So everything builds off of everything else. And so it's just, again, but you got to want to be great, because there's a lot of information on there. If you don't want to be great and you get it and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff. Well, you're right. It's a lot that goes into it. But if you want to be great, there's a lot of information that even the highest level quarterback could learn from.
And then I push my kids because they like it. And what I find too is, like, there's this different level, right? Like, first they want to be great, but they don't know how. Then they realize they can be great. And there's a lot of information, and it's information overload. And after a while, they just kind of balance out after a while. It takes a little while.
There's so many things that I've thought of in the process. So a big part of it is, like, the $7.99 plan, it takes you day by day.
Cool.
Like, you can get a $9.99 plan that gives you access to everything for the entire year.
That's
but
awesome.
but I set it up that way because, for instance, like the technique stuff, you get a technique lesson every Tuesday. And there's a reason why I want you to take a week in between technique lessons.
Practice.
I don't want you to take 5 of those lessons and try to throw them together, because now I'm overwhelmed and I can't do it. Yeah. So take a week to learn the lesson and learn what you're doing. So now I've got that down. Now I can add the next piece, because that's a problem with the quarterback position. We're trying to throw a million things at them because there's a million things going on. But if you never got the last piece, you're just going to be overwhelmed. So again, I set it up with all this in mind, that if you follow it the right way, you're going to grow and you're going to learn, and you're going to be able to, to make steps no matter what you're doing, whether you're a coach or a player, and whether you're at the highest level or you're just starting.
Guys, we're all going to chip in like $2.50, and we're going to send this to Daniel Jones. That's what I'm thinking we're going to do. I think.
Don't forget Peyton Thorne as well, Craig. Peyton Thorne needs this too.
You can tell Daniel Jones to call me, and I will give him a free subscription if he wants.
So like,
who wins the scholarship?
Yeah. So Kurt, I've had the website, which is nygiantsrush.com, for 10 years. After the Super Bowl, I made it. The podcast has been around for 3 years. Unless I get credentials, right? They don't let you in the door or to talk to anybody. In fact, one of our best moments of this year was I hit it off with Daniel Bellinger, their new tight end. The night before he flies to New York from San Diego, we do like an hour and a half interview with him. Great guy. I get friendly with his dad, right? And we're having this great relationship. Soon as he gets to camp, I have no access to him anymore. They shut all those guys down.
Gotcha.
But we could, we definitely should consider finding a way to
I mean, we'll get the word out, right? That's the most
Trust
important.
me, I can get to Daniel. So that
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, you have no.
He doesn't need our help for that.
Kurt, it's not like you're not working. It's not like you're working 24/7. Get some information out there to poor Daniel. He needs some help. All right, I'm going to give you the speed round, and then I'm going to let you go because you've been kind enough to hang out with us for a while, and it's been a pleasure. Maybe even let us know if your son's playing. We'll go watch him play. That'd be pretty cool.
Appreciate it.
All right, speed round. 10 questions. They're all pretty easy. They're all pretty fun. Santonio Holmes, catch or no catch?
Catch.
All right. You played basketball and baseball as a kid. Which one were you better at?
Basketball. I was better at basketball than I was at football.
Really?
Yes.
Point guard?
No, I actually played I could play all over, but I played at 4. I played at power forward.
Really? Yeah. How about that? Well, again, quarterback's a big guy too. So, favorite sports movie as a kid?
Hoosiers.
Yeah, I thought you were saying, because I said we're close in age. That was mine until Remember the Titans.
Yeah, Remember Titans was good, but Hoosiers was the best.
You get a Hall of Fame vote. What overlooked player are you putting in the Hall?
Torrey Holt.
Awesome. Looking out for your boy. That's cool.
Yes, sir.
But by the way, fantastic player. So
he should be a lock to get.
I actually thought he already was in the Hall of Fame. That's
no,
mistake.
Isaac Bruce.
Yeah,
Isaac just Bruce won him. All right, one defensive player you absolutely hated to play against. I don't care what the reason is.
Warren Sapp.
Dang.
Warren Sapp.
All right, fair enough.
Talked and dominated. So bad combination. Bad combination.
And still an injury.
He probably never shut up the entire game.
Never.
All right. Shockey, crazy or crazy good?
Probably a little of both, but he was crazy good. I mean, he was crazy talented at a time when we didn't have the tight ends that we have now.
Yeah,
he was one of those guys that kind of ushered that in. But had he been healthy, I think longer. I mean, he could have. He was a really good player. Really. Yeah. Good.
I mean, he was a fan favorite for a long time. Sometimes he was his own worst enemy. Sometimes he was hurt, but he could ball.
No, he could play.
Favorite sports team as a kid? You said Cowboys, right?
Yeah, I mean Cowboys in football, the Bulls in basketball. I was from Iowa, so we didn't have our own sports team. So
this Field of Dreams in Iowa?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever? This isn't part of the question. Have you ever been there?
I have not. All
right, just check it. All right. What's better on the Giants helmet, the NY or the Giants? The logo.
Probably the NY.
All right. Only because they had.
I don't know if I have a big preference either way, but
okay. Only because people they went back to the retro.
I see it behind you, and it's just I think that's I don't know. That's more synonymous. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, well, because this year they changed back to the retro '80s uniforms, but they kept the NY, and everybody's like, "Why don't you give us back the Giants?"
Gotcha.
Because when you see them play this year, they're going to look like the old '86 team. They went with the big thick stripes.
Gotcha.
Okay, last two. Favorite QB to watch play now? Like if you're at home, which you probably never are, but if you're home with the fam and you're popping on the TV, like what's a guy you're like, I love watching this guy play?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, Tom Brady is always must-see TV. Patrick Mahomes is must-see TV. Aaron's awesome. And a young guy, I love watching Justin Herbert play. I mean, I love the quarterback position, so I love all the good players. But I mean, those guys are just guys that, you just marvel at different things that they can do.
Yeah, I'm a Herbert guy too. I was hoping to.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been fun in his first couple years. I mean, Joe Burrow is another guy that he plays the game very much like I played it, so I love watching him. I mean, Drew, if you'd asked me 2 years ago, the first person I would have said is Drew, because Drew played the game mentally and physically like I did and processed information so quickly, and he was so accurate. I mean, it was just I love watching guys that play the game that way. And again, very much how I saw the game when I played.
Yeah, I'm always marveled at Breeze because he wasn't a tall guy, but he he just got that thing out, and he was always he was fun to watch.
Phenomenal.
All right, this is the home run hitter right here.
Okay.
All right. You might not, if you're not comfortable answering this question, because I didn't mean to put you in a bad spot. Now that I'm looking at this question,
Man. All right, what are we doing now? Okay.
Is Jones back in 2023? Is that like a question that's not appropriate? You can plead the fifth.
Probably not appropriate, but just because I just don't know. I mean, I think the verdict is still out, and I say not appropriate because I just want all these guys to succeed.
Yeah, I know. And like I said,
I would say if it's, based off of what I've seen up to this point, that they're probably not going to sign him to a big deal because I haven't seen enough yet.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he can't be after this year. But I mean, again, if you were asking me based on where he was at as his career, is he going to get a $40 million deal contract? No, he's not going to. But my hope is that he changes that whole thing in a year, new coordinator, new system, and he can be one of those guys.
My hope is that he calls you. That's my hope.
And I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just looked at the question and I was like, oh.
It's part of my job. But I mean, it's just, again, we're a year away, and and I never like to say, but at the same time, you got to analyze the game. And as of right now, what I've seen, he is not a $40 million a year quarterback. But I'll also say there's some guys getting paid $40 million in the league that I don't think are $40 million quarterbacks. So, so it's all relative. But I hope this is the year that he settles in and starts to show us at least what he can be as a player.
We have,
and again, if he spends $7.99, he can go to QB Confidential right now and be that player and get that contract.
Yeah, I'm actually signing up as soon as we're done. I'm not even kidding when I say it.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
The book is All Things Possible. The movie is American Underdog. I'm pretty sure you could probably get it on every platform now, whether you're on Hulu or Netflix. I'm sure you can get it anywhere. QB Confidential. QBconfidential.com, so you guys can check that. I looked at it. I thought it was super cool. Like, I wanted to. I wanted to play.
But even if you're not into playing or coaching the game, because that's really what that platform is. I do have QB Confidential on YouTube, which is breaking down NFL film and NFL quarterbacks and teaching the game from that perspective too. So anybody that's listening that may not say, hey, I don't need to learn how to throw a spiral. But loves the game, they can follow me there at YouTube and get a bunch of good content as well.
This is awesome. So you're working with the Raiders right now, right? You're covering Raiders?
I'm actually at home right now. So I'm done with all my training camps, and now I'm just kind of gearing up. I got two kids. I've got a son that plays wide receiver at K-State, and then the son that's playing quarterback at Temple. So gearing up for their season to start in 2 weeks, and then the NFL season right after that, and we'll be all over.
Awesome. So you get like a 2 week, a little bit vacation to hang with the kids and see what they're doing.
Little bit, yes.
And is he a fifth-year senior?
Yeah, he's in his last year. Yep, exactly. So he's finishing up this year, and so we'll see where life takes him after that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. This is the Giants Guys, another episode. It's an impromptu, of course, version because we're normally on Tuesdays. But guys, that's Spartan Mike. That's what we call the belt. You got the belt. You should show him the belt, Zane. Real, you should show him the belt. Show him the belt. He will not look at you the same unless you show him the belt.
You gotta see the Giants championship belt I have with all the Super Bowls on it.
That's pretty impressive. Only question: what did you do to earn it?
Nothing. I just paid for it. I've actually done nothing.
It doesn't count if you just are holding up a really cool belt. But
I would love to.
It's true.
I'd love to get it to you somehow. I mean, that belongs to you way more than it does to me.
You should have went with Ball Boy. You could have went anywhere. You could have,
Yeah.
Nothing. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Kurt. We hope maybe you'll give us some more time, maybe either after the season or we can reconnect with you. I'm going
to be all over doing a million different things, but if you can pin me down, then maybe we can talk again.
I will go back to harassing you in a few months. Hopefully.
No, that's not right.
All right, guys, have a good one. Have a great season.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks for everything. Thanks, guys. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Kurt Warner, your Super Bowl winning MVP, two-time NFL MVP, Hall of Fame class 2017, Kurt Warner. Guys, that was absolutely fantastic. And what I got out of that is that Jones doesn't need a whole lot of stats. He needs to be consistent. He needs to help the team win. He needs to raise the level of play around him, and he needs to make the plays that he's supposed to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. You're listening to the Giants, guys, nygiantsrush.com. Don't forget, we got Leonard Marshall, Ring of Honor against Dallas. Peace.